So Carole will talk to us about some of what she's doing and things that are relevant to cancer.
Thank you very much. I'm only letting people in the room who promised to clap for me. So do you promise to clap? Thank you very much. I have to tell you that what Patrick said just struck a chord that made me laugh a great deal. When I first got into this in 2007, which is now 4 years ago, one of my earliest endeavors was in May of 2007. I was invited to attend a conference put on by the National Cancer Institute, and it was titled Vitamin D and Cancer. And I sat there for 2 solid days listening to speaker after speaker after speaker, and they had shorter time frames than we have been blessed with. But they reported everything from vitamin D and cancer in all kinds of mice models, all kinds of other animal models, to test tube kind of things, to petri dishes, to people, I mean, whatever. And after 2 days, I was just brain-struck with everything that was going on all over the world. These were people they brought in from all over the world. And Dr. John Milner, who was the chair of the panel and the time there, and by the way, there were, I don't know, several hundred people there in that audience, he says, where do we go from here? And he had many of the panel up there on the stage. There were about 8-10 people up there on the stage. And he polled every one of them about where do we go from here, what do we do, so forth and so on. And to a person, they all had the same word. What was it?
More research.
Well, I'm sitting there with my heart going like this, which is, my God, you just told me how to save my life, and you want to do more research? Well, the audience, we were in this absolutely beautiful room, and we all had these tables out in front of us, not tables, kind of spread out things. Anyway, everybody had their own microphone. And if you wanted to speak, all you had to do was to press the button on the microphone. Well, those microphones had little tips on them that were red. And to this day, I believe mine pulsed. But it pulsed, and I pressed it. And I asked one simple question. I said, where is your sense of urgency? And I sat down, believe it or not. And my heart was really going by that time. There wasn't much of a response, I'll tell you that. But the conference was then over. I mean, it was really expected to be over at that, but I got to close it. About half of the researchers in that room came up to me and said, what can we do to help you? And I said, I don't know. I need to know, first of all, what's the message? You know, I've sat here for 2 days and I've heard, my God, we need to get the word out, but I don't know what word to get out. So what ensued then was a full 4 months of my husband and I, researcher Dr. Baggerly over there. We traveled the United States and Canada and met 30 truly of the world's most published vitamin D researchers to say, what's the message? We're going to take it out. Tell us what we need to say. Because I'm not the vitamin D expert, I'm not the researcher, I'm your marketing team, all right? I am your marketing team. That's what retired people get to do, you know. My background is physics and math, by the way, not science. Not biology. But I know an awful lot about vitamin D now. At any rate, we spent the next 4 months meeting all these researchers and saying, what's the message? And the total beauty of it all was, number one, everyone received us with open arms, which is kind of like, not one of them really said, who the blankety blank are you? They just said, what can you do to help me get the word out? And the message was so simple and so beautiful and so consistent. And it has stayed consistent for the last 4 years. And I will tell you what that message is. I want you to repeat it after me. Are you ready? It's get your serum level to 100 to 150 nanomoles per liter. That's it. So are you ready? Get your serum level to 100 to 150 nanomoles per liter. I can finish my talk. That's all I've got to say. All right. We also then went to various government agencies. I know lots of corporate people in the world. We met with them and everything else, and the hesitation I found was mind-numbing. Well, I said, to you, I love the general public. I really do love the general public. They have a mind of their own. I'm a very experienced IT person. That's what I spent most of my career doing. I said, okay, fine. What we're going to develop is this monumental IT system, information technology, internet-based thing. We've got the internet, and then we're just going to say, hey, dear world, get your serum level up. Well, we did that, and we did seminars. We had, not unlike you've had here, more geared to doctors and whatever about how to diagnose and treat the deficiency. Lots of people coming, but I still felt that there wasn't enough action, meaning like the individual doctors. So we initiated in 2009 with a lot of preparatory work, mostly by Dr. Cedric Garland, who you may or may not know of. He's probably one of the most famous vitamin D and cancer researchers that exists. We put together a very extensive questionnaire about all the information that would be necessary to gather that he could think of about vitamin D, cancer, health outcomes that we would want to track to be able to say there's really an effect in the mass population. And then we initiated that study in January of 2009. Now, I want to tell you one thing about stages of development. We keep hearing we need more clinical trials. Yes, you do. You always will, all right? But there's another stage of public health implementation that nobody seems to be quite saying out loud, and I truly do not know why. But once you've done a whole bunch of epidemiological studies, and there have been hundreds, once you've done a whole bunch of clinical trials, and there have been a lot with vitamin D, the next stage of any public health thing truly is what they call a population intervention study. You still want to track what's going on, all right? But you want to get it out to the masses, not to a very select group like you do in a clinical trial. That is the nature of our study. It's a mass study. It truly has international scope. We now have 8,000 people enrolled in it, and we are having more and more and more. And I will tell you a little bit more about that so you get kind of a frame for where that is. It is meant to be a worldwide population level public health intervention. Its aim truly is just to get the serum levels up. And here is really the key. All of those public health officials that aren't taking action are actually already starting to listen to us because we've been able to publish the results of the first year of our study. And they looked at it and they said, oh my gosh, you showed very clearly with 4,000 people's results that getting vitamin D levels up to this thing is safe. We had no signs of anybody even getting to that higher potential toxicity level of about 500 nanomoles per liter. And we showed some very other significant results, which I will show you. Our intervention truly is education and testing. We don't give supplements, we don't sell supplements, we really don't sell anything. And anybody can join. At this point in time, one of the things that we started with was zero money. Okay? Zero. We have no government funding. We have no foundation funding. So how on earth are you going to fund this? Well, this is where you love the general public. Are there interested people out there that can help fund it? Of course. Will they fund it once at a time? Of course. So we asked. And we set it up that way, which is like, okay, fine. We are going to say, if you want to help sponsor this project, your sponsorship costs you $65 US, twice a year, although people can commit to one time. And for that, you get to answer a health questionnaire. You get to do a vitamin D test, which, by the way, you do at home. It's a kit. Puncture your finger, drop some blood, mail it in, get your results. And we were besieged with people all over the world that said, I want to participate. Now, there is no doubt that we have a very select or self-selected study. We have people that can afford it, all right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. But is their health data any less good? No. Are they vitamin D deficient? Absolutely. Are their health outcomes valid? Well, we certainly think so. But at any rate, right now we have more than 8,000 people participating as individuals. Predominant groups certainly are in the US and Canada. We have more than 200 people right here in the UK as individuals, and from time to time they've shown up at some of these conferences. My congratulations and thank you. In Japan, we have a very special project going on, even in India, New Zealand, Australia, and other countries. So it is international in scope, and I am absolutely delighted. Now, once you build that grassroots piece, all right, then you can walk into the medical associations and say, hey, here we are, and all these people are supporting it. How about you, your medical association? Can you endorse this and say, for our members, for all of our physician members, you will support this? And what you are supporting as an organization is education of the doctors that says we need to get our serum levels to this level and here's how to do it. Well, sure. Okay? So there is tremendous value in building enough of that grassroots level to get that momentum going. So we have those. We have other associations that are now endorsing this project, this outcome actually. We have clinics and medical groups all over the world. I listed just a couple here, a few, from pediatricians to chiropractics to hospitals, and their commitment is again to test and to get those serum levels up. That is the first commitment that they have. The second one is many of them also participate with their patients in our project. And in that case, that's where the fee structures totally change. We are supported by the clinic as some particular outcome that they choose, and how they pay their patients and how their insurance things works is a whole separate issue at that point in time, just so you know. Pharmacies. In the US, individual or private pharmacies are absolutely delighted to participate, and they get zero financial benefit out of it. What they are saying is, we want to be seen as an independent pharmacy in our community that cares about the public. And we are going to have these test kits and this process right here on our shelf, out in front all the time, helping you as consumers learn more. And so we have many pharmacies around the US. We now have a number of research projects starting all over the place in many different kinds of groups. And I invite you in particular to look around your community to say, okay, what kind of group do you belong to, whether you are a physician in a clinic, whether you are a tester, a lab kind of company, whether you are whatever, any kind of group whatsoever. Can you help sponsor what we call a seed group in your community? And that kind of seed group to us is about 50 people minimum over a 5-year period, and it costs all of $15,000 a year. And those participants are expected to receive their tests and their information for free. So we really have sponsored projects that are starting not only in community groups, but also university partnerships. UC Davis is putting together something right now where they want to do something special. And we have all of these lining up right now. And we have, and I'm very proud of this, forgive me, and just like, I want the handshake, bop, bop, bop. There are some really great values to coming to vitamin D or anything else from a different line of work, as Bill Grant will tell you, as a physicist, as my husband will as a physicist. I, as I mentioned, came from the IT community, all right? I really know how to build databases. I really do. And I really know how to build standardized databases, so that when we get all this data out there for all of these people, it's going to be available for every vitamin D researcher in the world. And my aim with this methodology really is to enable the whole vitamin D research community and the whole implementation of it to move at light speed, in part because of the technology. We've got the data, we want you to use it. I attended an FDA meeting one time, and Janet Woodcock, who is the chair of operations or director of operations for the FDA, said, Carole, we have got the biggest set of randomized control trial data in the world, and nobody can use it. Why can nobody use it? Well, it's in an Excel file here. It's in a PDF over here. It's in a Word document here. And there is no way that they can pull it all together. Well, we are starting out with it all together because we built it that way to start with. My claim to fame, standardization. All right, results to date is really what I want to get to because there's another thing that we're tracking, which is what's the public's response to this? Now, if you're going to roll out a massive public health project, you've got to do, in one sense, a trial. And in that way, we are doing exactly that. We're rolling it out. We're seeing what the public's responses are to doing the test. We're seeing what physicians' responses are. And of course, we're doing some health outcome tracking right this minute. And I want to show you that. Within our study right now, we have that we are reporting on right this minute a little over 4,000 people. And here is the age distribution. Very heavily, as you can see, in that middle group, 50s and up. About 50% of our population is over 50. We have a smattering of young people there, which I reported on yesterday, and almost all of those come from 2 different pediatric clinics. Obviously, the children are not enrolling on their own. Females, 2,500 in this to 1,600 males. And I haven't really checked the data, but I would guess almost every one of those males is married to one of those females. What do you bet? For sure. At any rate, that's our population that we're reporting on at this point in time. This is a chart from our very first publication, which came out in the Anti-Cancer Journal in February this year. And this shows the vitamin D intake according to numbers. Every one of those little dots is a separate person. And the thing I want you to look at there just very simply is that enormous dispersion on that vertical line. Pick any line that you want to. We have people taking 10,000 international units a day. All right, we actually have people taking 50,000, but that would have made the chart kind of messy. The lowest serum level that they got to is about 50 nanomoles per liter by taking that much, all the way up to about 400 nanomoles per liter. That range is true no matter what the intake level is. The basic message is you cannot tell what serum level is by what the intake is. Right? Flat out, you can't tell. You have to test. The other really key thing from this is a lot of people have been concerned about toxicity and, oh my gosh, if you take so much, you're going to push the level up too high and blah, 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 blah. Okay, here is the slope of that line at the beginning, and that slope is somewhat like the kind of initial rule of thumb you might have heard about. For each 1,000 IU, you raise your serum level by about 10 nanograms per milliliter. That's what that slope would represent. However, when you get out here a little bit to in the 60 nanogram per milliliter range, that slope flattens out. What that means is, for each incremental amount of vitamin D you take, you get less and less and less effect on your serum level. In our entire study, all the way up to 40,000 international units a day, okay, we had 0 cases of anybody even achieving the 500 nanomoles per liter. And even the one that did had not had any clinical symptoms of toxicity. He just received a very high level. Okay, this is another chart representing exactly that, which is at that top level up there. You have almost a linear line down, and then once you get to about 80 nanomoles per liter, 200 nanomoles per liter, the curve essentially almost flattens out. Okay? This is one of the reasons why it's hard to get toxic taking vitamin D. If it were a linear curve and it just kept going, you'd keep getting more and more and more and more, but you don't. That's not how the body works. This chart we put together really for the doctors and everybody else that wants to say, yeah, but if I'm here and I want to get to there, how do I get there? This one shows that if you start with a level on the left of 50 nanomoles per liter and you want to get to 125, what should you take? What should you give a try? All right, and this gets you to that average line on that curve, not to the top, not to the bottom, but as a good place to start, it says 4,300 IU a day. And notice one line over, if I wanted to get to 150, it'd be 6,400 IU a day. So the idea that a population that's starting at 50, which many of you are in your population are, should be taking 1,000 IU a day, you're not going to get there. You're just flat not going to get there. All right? So there's no point in starting any less. You start it, you test again, and then you adjust, and then you test again. And as I was telling one lady earlier, the real key for individuals in our study is at least plan to do 3 tests. Do that baseline test, see where you are, do some adjustment to get to where you think you want to go, see how well you did, adjust again and then test again and make sure you're where you want to be. That's 3 tests, okay? So all of this is available for anybody that wants it, but that's just kind of quick and dirty what that data says. Today I want to show you, here's some other results we have. Within our study right now, we have had between tests 1 and 2 for individuals, we've had all of 3 cases of breast cancer, 2 of prostate, squamous and basal cell, and 1 case of melanoma that have shown up. I want to tell you a little bit about those people and what's going on. Here's a breast cancer person, their intake, test 1 to test 2, somewhere in that middle they had a diagnosis of breast cancer. The test was done in fall and spring, and that person did not change their intake level. It was 6,000 IU at the test 1 and 6,002. Here's their serum level. Their serum level was about at 150, went down a little bit. The down a little bit in our experience, and probably those of you who do testing, is pretty much just a seasonal thing from fall when it was a little higher to spring a little bit lower. So there's no major change on that person. This person is 61, weighs 163 pounds, which is not all that heavy for a person 5'9". Her blood pressure, 169/78. She spends a fair amount of time out in the sun, and she rides her bike a mile a day, which by the way is not very far, but anyway, and she takes 6,000 IU a day. And that's the characteristics of that person. Number 2, this person is taking about 1,000 IU a day. And their serum level from test 1 to test 2 from fall to summer went from about 175 down to about 113, which is a little high for a change there. That person had a ductal carcinoma in situ diagnosis, DCIS, 60, 134 pounds, decent blood pressure, spends a lot of time gardening, and she was taking 800 IU a day. Now I want to tell you one side thing here rather quickly. It's not in our data, but I have to tell you because I get called by so many breast cancer people because they know I've had breast cancer, which is, by the way, how I got in this to start with. Okay? Nobody should have it. Moreover, nobody should have the treatment for it. Okay, but that's a whole other issue. At any rate, I get so many calls by these people. What we are hearing, or what I hear on the phone, is that there is a very aggressive attempt right now to take care of diagnoses of breast cancer, DCIS even, which is still locked right solid there in the lobule. It's not even expanded. It's not even invasive, all right, by surgery, and the surgery is called mastectomy. In addition, not only are they lopping off the breast that has the very small lump in it, I actually had a case of a woman who talked to me last week that said, well, my surgeon said I should have the other one taken off too at the same time because then I wouldn't have to worry about getting breast cancer in that one. Okay? I am scared about that, folks. I am truly scared about that. I will do the documentation to say what is the surgical rate of mastectomies now, and I will be tracking that for the next few years to see what's going on. Okay? So be aware. Carole's on the move. Oh, I have to tell you another silly. I'm sorry, it's just totally silly. John Milner, who was the chair of this NCI group, and by the way, he's the chair of the prevention branch of NCI, he gave a talk at some seminar I was attending once, and he came up to me before the talk and he says, Carole, you won't be too hard on me, will you? All right, at any rate, this lady, I love this lady. She had test number 1, she had a diagnosis of breast cancer, and she said, whoops, I need to increase my vitamin D level. So she started taking a lot more, and her serum level went up as well. She is an office person. She's only 43, a little heavy, 190 over 5 feet 3 inches. No time out in the sun, no physical activity, okay? So we've got probably a little relationship here, but she went from 2,900 IU a day to 12,500 to get to that. Prostate cancer, I don't want to ignore these people here. This guy also said, I need to do something different here. So his intake went from about 1,500 to 9,000 a day, and his serum level, curiously enough, went very little, very little. He's 55, and those little boots there are to represent that he has no activity and no sunshine, and he's probably lying out there doing something, okay? Another prostate cancer thing, similar case here, he went up, he chose to take more. I love it that men are taking action, don't you? All right, say yay, yay, this is a good thing, this is a good thing. All right, he's 71, has type 2 diabetes. He spends time out in the sun, but doesn't do much, okay? So we're tracking all this. We have melanoma, only one case. We have basal cell carcinoma, so forth and so on. Now I want to give you a couple of observations here. The average serum level of all but the melanoma was greater than 100 nanomoles per liter. I am delighted. These people are taking action to get their serum levels up to what our panel is recommending. So in that sense, I think that's a tremendous mark of success for the process that's happening right now. My question is it high enough? There are, as we published in our journal, the Anti-Cancer Journal, it would take approximately 9,600 IU a day to get everyone to 100 nanomoles per liter. My question literally is, how do we proceed to get on with it? All right? The IOM, in spite of their being flogged for not being very aggressive with their recommendations, actually made a statement that 10,000 IU a day was considered a no adverse effect level. Right? It ain't nothing going to happen to you if you take that much. Also, the recent publication from NHANES data indicated that there was no impact on breast cancer in their study of, I don't know how many thousands of women, but none of them had levels above 100 nanomoles per liter. So I think that there is an opportunity. The other thing is that there are definitely some cancer drugs that lower vitamin D serum levels. A very common one is tamoxifen. Many women take tamoxifen as an anti-aromatase inhibitor after they've had their other treatment for breast cancer. And to the best of my knowledge, very few doctors are testing, oncologists are testing vitamin D levels and are aware that tamoxifen actually will interfere with the absorption of vitamin D. And there are many other such things. And how best to further get this word out to the people and to the oncologists. Our next steps within our project scope are indefinitely to get out to the clinics where women are treated so that they can get advice on vitamin D as well as their other treatment options. We will help publish some more data that we have from a pharmaceutical source on the various chemotherapeutic drugs and their effect on vitamin D status. There is a lot known that we want to help get published so people can make decisions about that. And we are even advocating reviewing dosages in current trials to figure out how we can amend them or do something different for higher serum levels. And with that, my very special thanks, first of all, to each and every one of you and to Rufus, to us inviting you here, and to all these people and our sponsors. And get your serum levels to what? Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so oncologist.
Is that list going to be on your website?
Which list?
The list of drugs that can decrease?
Absolutely, absolutely. As soon as I get it. The gentleman is a pharmacist that I met in Germany just barely a month ago, and he's done a lot of research on what the different drugs are.
And what's your website called?
I'm sorry?
Is that Action D? What's your website? Is it same?
Grassrootshealth.net is our website. You bet. We will definitely publish that.
I'm a palliative care doctor, and quite often I see patients that are deficient in vitamin D and advise them to increase their levels. But I find it quite hard to give advice to give very high doses of vitamin D. Especially, I did a master's in nutritional medicine, where Professor John Milner has come and taught us, especially when they teach us at the nutritional medicine course that there are cases where there is a bell-like effect of vitamin D, especially in prostate cancer, and there are studies. One is published at the Journal of National Cancer Institute in 2008, which show that with higher circulating vitamin D levels, there is an increased risk of aggressive disease. So
what study was that one? By whom?
By A. Chen, I don't know how you will call him.
Chen.
He published from the National Institutes of Health in
Yes.
Bethesda.
Yes.
He's published extensively in
Right.
vitamin D. So, if, to a man, I think I would be very careful to advise them to.
I would like to give you my input on that, please, and Dr.
Yes.
Grant, who is speaking this afternoon, will give you even more. All right, Dr. Baggerly, my researcher person in our family here, has taken a look at a number of those trials, specifically those that kind of show some of that upswing, and one of them, Stolzenberg-Solomon, has been quoted very frequently on pancreatic cancer, and I guarantee you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is a statistical manipulation, bar none. Bar none. I mean, all you got to do is look at the data, and you count the points, and you merge the last set of data that goes up a little bit with the prior thing, and the total thing flattens out. The last set was statistically insignificant to start with, all right? The same is true on a number of those other studies. They have 5 people out here compared to 5,000 people here. So you have to be careful of the tail wagging the dog within statistics. That's the name of the game. In the meantime, you cannot penalize, please, do not penalize the rest of the population because of your concern about 60 people that are out here on the tail. Dr. Grant will give you more data on that specifically as well. And I would be happy to talk to you later about that. Others? Thank you very much for listening and very much for your applause.